Casey's Audio Vault.
Chris Cornell.
We talked June 6th, 2007.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure.
How are you enjoying the tour, supporting the new album?
It's been great. It's been kind of one of my favorite tours. It hasn't been that many shows yet, but still, I got to say, we've been doing like 2.5-hour sets, and it's been one of my favorite tours I've ever done.
I guess it's a lot different than what you've been doing in the past.
Well, I think that sort of being able to include all of the past is a big part of why it's so exciting, because musically I can kind of do whatever I want, and I have so many records to go back to, and then I have a brand new record with 14 songs on it to draw from now. There's just nothing musically that I don't have if I feel like doing it. And also, you know, from one night to the next, we can change the setup quite a bit because of all of the different songs that I've written over the years and the different styles. And you know, we got about 40 songs right now we can do. At some point, we could do 60 or 80.
Have you got your wife touring with you? Have you got the family coming along this time around?
They come out occasionally. My wife comes out. You know, she's there most of the time, and then we bring the kids out when there's going to be a period of several days, like in one place. We kind of do it like that versus having them. I wouldn't want to have them on a tour bus and like going to the airport and stuff every day. I don't think that's really appropriate for a kid. But so we'll look at, like, you know, if I'm out on the road for a month, we'll look at a space of time, you know, a couple of times on that tour where we can have them in for several days in one place where I'm going to be kind of sitting tight for a few days.
Was it a smooth transition performing live with your backup band, going from the studio to the live touring band?
Actually, yeah, it was really great. You know, I've never done that before, where I actually auditioned guys, and I think, you know, everybody that I auditioned and everyone that I played with were guys that were really good musicians and that could handle songs. You know, there are a lot of great musicians out there that spend their life doing it that you don't hear about because they didn't end up in a famous band, but, you know, those guys are great. And so I just kind of went for looking for people that were really into everything from the new record and then all the way back to like late 80s, early 90s stuff that I wrote, and had the ability to play all that with kind of an equal understanding of it, and people that were just cool guys that were good people that could get along and that I could get along with. And after that, you know, it was a little bit weird. It was a little like Little Prince sitting there, where I would just say, yeah, well, I want to do this song and that song and that song and this song, and then come in the next day and they'd be doing it already, and I would just start singing to it. So it was actually a very easy transition, and, you know, I could tell from the first day we started rehearsing the songs, it was going to be great.
Well, the album Carry On, it features great musicians like Gary Lucas, to name one. Did you have him in mind when you were writing the album?
Yeah, I didn't, not when I was writing the album, but when I was having conversations with Steve Lillywhite about guitar players, definitely, like, Gary Lucas was the only guy that really came to mind where I was really interested and really passionate about having the guy play on the record. Because, I mean, most of the stuff I play by myself, and you know, I'm not, as a guy writing songs, I'm demoing at home, and I'm just kind of playing all the instruments, and you know, I wanted some people that would really add something to the record that I couldn't do, but also I didn't want it to be obvious. And I didn't really want it to be special guest star either. I've always kind of been against that for my own records, you know, and it's kind of not the way things work nowadays. Nowadays in rock, hip-hop, every kind of music, people get like a lot of famous people to play on their records, and there's a lot of couplings like that. But, you know, I feel like for me, it's the opposite of what I do, because what I do is kind of you know, sitting at home writing songs and kind of going into an imaginary world where my songs are the soundtrack of it and create this environment. And I kind of like to retain that all the way through the end of the recording. And Gary Lucas was someone that just definitely added something to that.
How far back do you guys go?
I met him at Jeff Buckley's funeral, which was not, you know, the best time to meet someone, and but I met him then, and then he sent me a couple of CDs of things he had done that I think couple of them were different scores he had done for this documentary in the South, and just different things, different projects he'd worked on. I have a CD of him with Gods and Monsters when Jeff Buckley was singing on it, and I just had kind of lost touch with him over the years, but had always remembered the songs. And so, we were never like really close buddies. He was just a guitar player that I thought was really great.
Well, and you were mentioning that when you're writing music, you kind of go into your own little world, and I guess that's got to feel liberating now that you're making music all on your own. But is there times where you're like, where do I start?
Not really. I think that used to definitely be an issue with me. Now, I kind of have found over the years that if you're asking that question, where do I start, then, you're sort of missing the point, which is you just start. And if you just start, a song comes out of it. That's kind of the beauty of it. You don't have to worry about what should I do now to create a song, and what kind of song should it be, and for what. Once I start thinking about all that stuff, I've kind of missed the point. Because it's not really me dictating what the song should do and what group of songs should be created. It's really the song that should be dictating to me what I should do. So I'll just go off of any immediate inspiration, whatever it might be, and just kind of jump on that first train that goes by. And then I make a song. And songs kind of write themselves in a sense, if you're just sort of getting out of your own way and just following an initial inspiration.
Did you start writing Carry On, like right after, straight out of Audio Slave Revelations? Did you get right into
business?
Actually,
I think the week after I wrote the first couple songs for a movie called Bug, which just came out. And one of those songs ended up in the movie, and it's also on the record, called Disappearing Act. It's the version that's in the movie is just an acoustic version that I did at home in my living room. And then the one on the record is a whole band version that Steve Lillywhite produced and is part of the sessions for this record.
Are they all newly written, or was there any in your back pocket that you had from a few years back?
There were two songs I had from one from like a year and a half earlier that I had written for Out of Exile. We obviously did a version of it, but then never wanted to do it. Didn't want to put it on the record, and we didn't do it again for the third record. And then there's a song I wrote for my wife Vicky that I played at our wedding reception. That song's called Finally Forever. And I had that just kind of sitting around, and I always thought, I wrote that song just for that, and played it then, and that was it. No one else ever heard it again. And I really liked that song, and I thought, I want to do that for this record too. But other than that, it was all newly written. In fact, like 4 of the songs were written after I decided I was finished recording the record. I went on vacation, and the record company said they wanted a lot of lead time before they put out the record just to get everything prepared correctly. And I got bored, so I went and did more songs. I think that sort of time between you're finished with your record and the record is released is kind of the most annoying time for me as a songwriter and as a recording artist. It's like that's sort of the no man's land. That's when most bands kind of start rehearsing a little bit. So I did do that. I put a band together and I went out on the road. But I also wrote more songs and recorded them. And as the record company was sort of putting together their campaign, I was giving them more songs. And I'm going to put these songs on it too. And I'm going to put those songs on it too.
And I guess you don't really like the breaks. After your motorcycle accident, I was reading that you went directly back into the studio there was no lag time.
No, actually, the guy that built my motorcycle, his shop was like 15 minutes away from where the accident occurred. So I called him up just to tell them, somebody's got to come and get the bike. And he came and one of his guys picked the bike up off the street. And then I just got in their van. They took me to the studio, and that was it. And I just went right back to work. Yeah, I get a little obsessed when I'm in the middle of making a record, where it's like the thought of not working, and not going in one day bothers me. In fact, like Steve Lillywhite made it a point that Sundays were off and Saturdays were kind of short days, and that was the way that was going to be, because I don't usually take days off at all. I have a family now, so I thought, okay, Sundays are fine, but almost begrudgingly, because once I start going, I like to keep going.
The packaging for Carry On, it's got like a real retro feel. Were you looking for kind of a classic Aretha Franklin type cover, or does that come into?
Yeah, I mean, when I see records that look more like that, like older soul records, or even older folk records, older blues records, I feel like that sort of spoke the most about the artist and the record. And it became, then the 70s kind of hit that stoner period where record covers became like bad stoner art, like Fly By Night, Rush's second record, and things like that. And I was really into that as a kid. But nowadays it's like CDs are tiny, you can't really see them. It's not, you don't really make a statement that way anymore. It's like, so usually for cover art, people are kind of thinking about what can I do that is going to draw someone's eye to the CD packaging, even though it's so small. And I don't really like to play that game, so I kind of wanted to go back to just the old school records that I saw when I was a little kid, and when I was first discovering music.
Would you consider putting out a Chris Cornell album on vinyl? You think there's a market out there still?
There is a market. It's not very big, but yeah, it's one. The biggest problem really is that it's not that easy to get a record company to pay for that now. For two reasons. One is the market's really small. The other one is that their market for what they actually do sell, which is CDs, is shrinking because of downloading, and so it's really hard. For most records I've made, they go and they do it. So I think they'll probably do that for this record.
Well, I appreciate giving us a call.
All right, thank you very much.
All the interviews you want on iTunes and at Power97.com. Casey's Audio Vault.
Casey Norman is Power 97's music director and can be heard every weekday from 2 till 6 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Power 97 is Winnipeg's best rock.